What's up, Mooncutter fans? As always, Geoffrey here. And tonight it is a really hot Tuesday evening, May 30th. And you know what? It's hot as hell outside. And this conversation is about to get hot as hell because tonight we are discussing your reigning, defending, undisputed NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And you know what? What better person to come on and talk Eagles shop with than Eric from the Philly podcast? What's up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, Geoffrey? How are you tonight, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's not only do we have fantasy draft starting, the draft over with, free agency warming up, getting ready for OTAs, but I'm just in a mood to talk football.
Oh, God, yeah. There's nothing better.
And even though I'm born and raised and from the other side of Pennsylvania, I got to show respect for the Eagles coming up big last year. I mean, you made it to the Super Bowl. And I remember last year when I had you on, I was laughing at you because you were talking big hype about the Eagles making it to the dance. And I got a bow to the king, man. You were right. The Eagles did get to the Super Bowl.
It was definitely like my shining moment, considering all season long, there was a bunch of us that, well, me and Chris, like we said coming into last season, we wanted Jalen Hurts to show improvement. We wanted him to read defenses better. We wanted to see a huge step forward from him. And we said plenty of times on our show, we want him to make us eat crow. We want to be wrong, prove us wrong. And man, he hit the gate, he right out of the gate running, man. And I couldn't have been more happier in my entire life to be wrong about a player. Just couldn't be more happier. And as the season was progressing,
Slow it down.
you, you could see
Sorry.
the confidence. What's that?
Sorry, my dog's trying to sneak onto the screen. I'm not having it.
Yeah, mine's laying here on the floor next to me. She's sleeping. Um, but yeah, as the season was rolling on, man, you could just see the confidence that he had, and he was a totally different player from the previous season. And man, like I felt it with him. Like watching him play and watching how the team played and how they just rallied around him. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was on your show. I had my chest out. I was puffing it up. I was telling everybody to bring it. Come on our show. Like hit us up on Twitter. Like start some crap with us. We loved it. We absolutely embraced it. And
You
yeah, so
did.
we got to the dance. So I
And,
was happy.
and I will say on the note that you were discussing, Jalen Hurts, you're 100% right. It was like night and day what we saw into his from his sophomore into his junior season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could have, in my wildest dreams, expected him to play at an MVP level like that. I mean, he literally just, I mean, the work he must have put in the off season with the playbook and film study. I mean, look, I hated school, but what he did was just of like mammoth proportions when it came to upping his game, and he earned every bit of that contract.
Uh, I can't disagree. And um, sorry, I wanted to get to the point of you mentioned he played at an MVP level, and I will say it probably, in the eyes of the people that actually got to vote towards that, hurt him that he got injured. But realistically, his injury, looking at how much you guys floundered a little bit in the later stretch of the season without him, I personally think that showed even more how much of an MVP he was for the team.
Oh, yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. It showed just how important he was. It showed just how important he was. He was not only to be on the field, but for his teammates. Like with AJ Brown. With Smith. Miles Sanders, who I mean, sadly is gone, but that stuff happens. It's football. Yeah, no, like it showed when he wasn't there, like how important he is to that team. And everyone knows if you don't have a quarterback, your team's not going anywhere. And he stepped it up, man, and he proved to be one of the best quarterbacks in the game right now.
And to what you just said about without a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. It kind of got proven when you guys, I admittedly caught a lucky break in the NFC Championship game.
Well, that Brock
Not
Purdy
saying,
injury,
not saying that you guys weren't going to win the game anyways, but what happened during that game definitely helped your case.
yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. I was confident going into that game. I wanted to see Jalen Hurts versus that number one ranked defense. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see what Brock Purdy could do because, like, before we went live, I was telling you I'm not a Brock Purdy believer. I think the kid hit a hot streak, and as an Eagles fan, when you have a quarterback that hits a hot streak, anything can happen. Nick Foles. That's all I got to say. You know what I
That's
mean?
exactly what I was about to say.
So yeah, I looked, I saw a lot of similarities in him. Especially being Mr. Irrelevant. What he did for the 49ers was just as important of what Jalen Hurts did for the Eagles. Just it was even more of a story because of where he was drafted at. And like the comparisons about Tom Brady, where he was drafted and how he came out of nowhere basically due to an injury. A lot of similarities there, but I need to see more. I need to see more from a quarterback. And it sucked that he got hurt in that game because I think that if he wasn't hurt, the game would have been more competitive. Because, like I said, he was on a hot streak. He was playing with a lot of confidence. And quarterbacks that are playing with a lot of confidence are dangerous quarterbacks.
For sure. Now, the other thing that, like, we're talking about great storylines. The biggest one for me was the second time we've seen brother versus brother in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
The first time it was from opposite sides of the field.
Yes.
This time it was on the field.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was a great storyline. And the funny thing about it was what made the storyline was their mother, was the Kelsey's mom. That she made that storyline, with how she, like, the clothes that she would wear, like one side for the Eagles, one side for Kansas City. It was a fun, it was cute, it was adorable. She's rooting. She had no losing interest in that game whatsoever. As
No,
far as she was, as far as she was concerned, one son was going to win, one was going to lose. She wasn't going to love either one less. Whoever lost, you know what I mean? Like, to her, it was a win-win because they're both in the Super Bowl, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome. And there was a video that was caught of Jason Kelsey after the game. His mom caught up to him on the field, and she turns him around, and he just looks at her and goes, "Oh, mom," and he just gives her a big hug. And I was like, "Oh God, tug at the heartstrings, why don't you, buddy? What? Just rip my heart out."
I'm still disappointed that they didn't let her do the opening coin toss.
That would have been great. That would have been great.
But I think we need to dive into what pieces. Obviously, between seasons, you always lose pieces, you always gain new pieces. I think we definitely need to discuss the pieces that you guys have brought in because, given it's not a large list,
No.
there's been some definitely momentum-making names in here. We'll start with the free agents. Then we'll discuss well, realistically, there's only one big trade that needs discussed.
That is true.
But
yes,
we'll get into the free agency. Obviously, you guys re-signed center Jason Kelsey because how can you not?
yeah. That's, to tell you the truth, I was kind of surprised. To be honest with you, I was really surprised that he re-signed. I thought that was the Super Bowl was going to be it. And then when he came out on social media and said, that he wasn't effing done, which is literally what he said, he still had a lot in the tank. I knew then that, okay, if they had won the Super Bowl, he would have retired. If they'd beaten Kansas City, Jason Kelsey would have retired. But in the end, they didn't, and he feels he's got one more run in him, and he feels that this team is good, and I can't blame him. So he's just giving it one more go.
The surprising part about that re-signing for me is that Jason's saying I'm not, well, as you said, effing done. And yet younger brother Travis is already talking about retiring at the end of the season here.
Yeah, I find that interesting, because like they're both Super Bowl champs, and one is basically saying, you know what, I just want one more shot at it. I don't know, maybe he wants to try and like match his brother with Super Bowl wins. They're both multiple time Super Bowl champs. Maybe that's what Jason wants to do. But when it comes to Travis, I mean, he's playing with one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So how do what else is there for him to do? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he thinks that he's done enough, or he's accomplished enough, and he's still young. Maybe there's other things he wants to do.
For sure. That and the fact that he's already got, what is it, two rings?
I believe it's 2 rings. Yeah, he's
That's,
got as many as Mahomes.
look at the Hall of Famers that have retired with 2.
Absolutely.
The big name brothers, the other big name set of brothers.
Oh,
Peyton and Eli both had 2 when
yeah,
they stepped away.
yeah,
So
and
maybe that's where Travis's mind is, that, the Mannings had 2. If I can walk away with 2, I'm happy.
yeah. I mean, look, these guys know that they're all on limited time as football players. Like certain positions have less time, has less of a lifespan than others. Like running backs, they average 4 years, and then they're out of the league. When you're a lineman, especially like a center, that's a lot of pounding and grinding in the trenches. That you're going up against big guys, and that takes a toll on you. And the same goes with tight end. Like they block, they get out there, they get mismatched, and the game just wears down on you. It's a tough sport to play.
You're 100% right. I will say it's also slightly surprising that which brothers, given the positions, that tight ends, even though it is also a grueling position to play, do tend to have one of the longer shelf lives in the league versus the center. And yet I just find it gobsmacking that it's the center that wants to keep playing and the younger tight end that wants to walk.
And the other funny part about it is the center wants to keep playing, and he plays through multiple injuries. Like just 2 years ago, the guy was out there, like dislocates his basically his elbow. They put it back in place, puts a splint on it, and what the hell is it? A brace, and he goes right back out there. He goes right back out there. And to Travis's, his story, his career, he really hasn't had many injuries. He really hasn't, and he wants to walk away. Maybe he wants to walk away before he had a major injury. Who knows? Maybe he wants to just value, his health and just walk on off.
You think it could be a matter of looking at how banged up Big Brother's gotten in his career and saying that, yeah, nope?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's because that's one of those things where they see it. They see what it does, and they talk in the off season. They see each other, at each other's houses. They have their own podcast that they do. And they talk about that. So, hey, if he wants to move on, get out while he can, and he's healthy, well, relatively healthy, more power to him.
Now, I know you and I could probably sit here and talk Kelsey brothers all night, but there's more to the team than just Jason Kelsey. So we're going to move on to the other offensive lineman that you guys re-signed, and that's right tackle Brett Toth.
Say that again, please.
We're going to move on to the other offensive lineman that you guys re-signed, and that's right tackle Brett Toth.
Yes. They resigned. I mean, more depth, just more depth. I mean, there's. I mean, I'm not reading too much into it. I mean, good player. He fits a role right now that they need, and yeah. I mean, and he's a good player. He's improved, and I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good pick. Good pick. I thought it was a good signing to keep him around. Um, there's a few guys that I wanted them to keep around that we didn't get to keep. So it's just one of those things. It's how it goes. But yeah, I like it. Like I said, for depth, I'm happy with it, and just can't wait to see him get out there and see what he can do when called upon.
All right. At 26 and a half for being a depth player, I would think it would probably take either a fluke late career surgeons or an injury for him to elevate to the main show, but we've all seen stranger things happen.
That is true. That is true.
From offensive line to the defensive line, the two big players that were re-signed on that end were defensive end Kentavious Street and defensive tackle Fletcher Cox.
To tell you the truth, man, I was really surprised about Fletcher Cox.
Sorry, you brought in Kentavious Street from New Orleans and re-signed Fletcher Cox.
Right. They like I said, I was surprised about like re-signing Fletcher Cox to another 1-year deal. I can understand bringing him back in if he was still one of the top players at his position, like Jason Kelce. And I was shocked by that, especially for what he got, where he claims that he turned down turned down more money to go to other teams because he wanted to stay in Philadelphia. And if I was the Eagles, if I was Howie Roseman, I probably would have let him walk. But bringing in, I'm sorry, what was his name again? The guy that's from New Orleans,
defensive end Kentavious Street.
Yeah, that's it. That's another one that's a depth for rotation, and I really like what Howie was doing, what Howie has built this team, like how he's done it the last few years, where he knows for the offensive and defensive lines, he's trying to keep these guys healthy. He's trying to keep them fresh, and he's got these rotations going, and he's really given Sirianni a lot to work with, and I think he's done an almost masterful job at it, and that was a very good signing by him.
I can't argue. I really can't. So let's swing from the defensive line to the defensive backfield. Re-signing James Bradbury, bringing in Greedy Williams from Cleveland at the corner position. And on linebacker, you brought in Nicholas Morrow from Chicago.
Yeah, Nicholas Moore was another good depth piece. I mean, because we did lose a couple linebackers that were pretty big roles for us last year, and Kazir White and TJ Edwards. I mean, Edwards was the first to fly the nest, if you want to call it, with that massive contract from Chicago. And I was kind of shocked by it, but I was like, hey man, this is the business side of the sport, and this is what these guys become free agents for, and I was like, wow. The shocker for me, right after they got Williams on in the defensive backfield, the shocker for me was actually bringing back Bradbury. I was completely thrown off by that. I really was. I was thrown off by that, especially after there was all this talk about CJ Gardner-Johnson, trying to get him re-signed, and it was just too quiet. Nothing was happening on that front. And then there was the talk of the one guy you didn't mention was Darius Slay. I mean, big play Slay. There was talk of him leaving. They were like, no, we're not going to bring him back. And then all of a sudden, he signs, and then Bradbury signs.
Sorry if Darius Slay actually isn't listed here on Spot Rack.
Yeah, well, he still had 1 year left on his contract.
Okay.
Yeah, he had 1 year left on his contract, and they were going to release him because at first he did not want to restructure his deal. which he couldn't basically restructure because he only had 1 year left. So there was nowhere to move the money. So he basically would have had to do an extension, which is what he eventually wound up doing. So they were like, well, look, it's either you extend with us so we can move this money around and put more towards a signing bonus, or we're going to cut you. And it was like, I was like, wow, I can't believe they're going to cut Slay. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, what? I was like, oh my God, because out of him and Bradbury, I absolutely would have wanted him back over Bradbury and throw that money for Bradbury to CJ Gardner-Johnson. But then, word started getting out after they signed Bradbury back, that, there was an issue where Johnson basically overvalued himself, overvalued his position. And that's why he's playing on a 1 year prove-it deal.
Now, what throws me here is that you're talking about all this trying to move money and stretch money to clear up cap, and yet the deal they brought Bradbury back on was 3 years, $38 million. It only has a 2023 salary cap hit of $3,062,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a backloaded deal, but still.
Well, how much did they give him up front for see, that's where this comes into play. How much of that got converted to signing bonus? And that's all these guys care about, the guaranteed money, which is the signing bonuses.
It looks like we got an AAV of 12,666, a total guaranteed of 20 mil.
Yep, there it is.
And then
there it is.
Guaranteed at signing 20 mil.
Yep.
So
and it's another genius move by Howie Roseman. He knows what these guys want. So he's like, okay, we're going to give you this much up front in signing bonus. That is your guarantee. We'll give you 75% of your contract up front. Your average cap hit is going to be low, so we can still maneuver, make moves. And that's where he's like the Mad Hatter now of GMs, because he knows how to manipulate these players into getting the deals that he wants, not what they want, what he wants.
Okay. 2 moves made at safety. Re-signing Terrell Edmonds for a 1 year deal and bringing in Justin Evans for a 1 year deal.
These are quality signings. Like, Edmonds came from Pittsburgh. He was a starter for Pittsburgh.
Sorry. Yeah. I read that wrong. I pit to Phil. I was thinking it said PHI to PHI. My bad.
Yeah.
I just saw the piece.
Yeah. I mean, this was one of those 1 year deals where the guy's a starter in the league, just ran his course with Pittsburgh. I have some contacts and some friends who are in the Pittsburgh area, and they're actually sad to see him go. And they were like, he's a quality guy. And they were like really shocked that he signed for 1 year. I mean, good player. It's one of those value deals.
Especially for only 2 mil.
Yeah, it's a value deal. It's kind of like a prove it deal. So where they took the money, okay, between what they were going to try and work out with CJ Gardner-Johnson, that money all got moved around to your 2 defensive backs. So now you're a little tight on what you can do at safety, and Howie turns around and gets a quality starter, a guy that, when you start for Pittsburgh, you're decent, especially in their defense, and you start for 4 straight years, you're a decent player. And they bring him in on a 1 year, $2 million deal. Like, that's insane. That's insane. And that just goes to show you, like, the kind of character that that this franchise has built, like the kind of players they want to come in. Guys will come in here for dirt cheap.
I can't talk. Sorry, this is what sleep deprivation does to you. But like, it's just blowing my mind. Like, some of the deals I feel like are way overvalued, and yet the rest of them are all like, how the hell they pull that off?
Exactly. And that's where Howie earns his paycheck. That's all I can say. That's where Howie Roseman earns his paycheck, when he's able to do stuff like that. I mean, especially even the Greedy Williams that's a decent signing. That is a very decent signing. You know, he's a player. He's got skill. He's got talent. A little bit of an injury history, but for one season, you absolutely take that contract.
Now, I got to say, you obviously need a backup for Jesus God, Jalen, unless on the off chance that he gets hurt again.
Right.
Sorry, I just had a brain fart on his first name.
No problem.
But
That's fine.
I got to say, for getting him for only $5 million for a backup, somebody that's coming off of having been a starter in the league, Marcus Mariota, is coming out of Atlanta. I got to say that's you could do much worse at backup.
Yeah, you could. You really could. And to be quite honest with you, I started to laugh when I saw that they went and signed Marcus Mariota, because he literally quit on his team last year. Just totally quit. Like he was like, yeah, I'm just taking my ball and going home. I'm done playing, whatever. I'm out of here. So I was kind of surprised that the Eagles would bring a guy in like that. But then on the second hand, when I sat and thought about it, I was like, he has the skill set to and the physical mobility. I mean, I'm not calling him Jalen Hurts, but he has a likeness of athletic prowess to play that position in this city with the same game plan. Like he's capable of doing that. Like his athleticism is he's capable of doing that. And for $5 million to sit on the bench behind the MVP runner up, yeah, I think that's really good. I thought that was a nice signing by Howie Roseman. Again, he gave him some good depth.
All right, moving on to your receiving course, you brought in tight end Dan Arnold from Jacksonville and signed, oh God, I'm going to butcher his first name, Olamide Zacchaeus from Atlanta.
Yes.
So at least somebody that Mariota is comfortable with if he has to go out on the field.
Yes. Yeah, that's a familiar face. Someone he's comfortable with, because everybody knows most quarterbacks have their safety net, which is the tight end. So other than their linemen, they're best friends with their tight ends. I don't see either one of them as being like a big impactful player, but they, what's the dude from Jacksonville? What was it? Who the other one?
Tight end Dan Arnold.
Dan Arnold. He's a good blocking tight end, and I mean, with Dallas Goedert on the field, I'm not really concerned about who the number 2 tight end is, but at the same time, I kind of wish they had a better number 2 tight end, because I'm going back to when we had Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, so it was like that was a good 1-2 threat to have at tight end. So, I mean, I think they're a little light when it comes to depth for tight end, but like I said, you still got Dallas Goedert, who's got an All-Pro. He's going to be an All-Pro.
And then the last position to discuss on free agent acquisitions and signings, the one that when we talk about the trade makes it probably the most interesting position to discuss right now for you guys, and that's your running backs. Like,
yeah,
with the signings of Boston Scott and Rashad Penny, bringing them both back, you would have thought that was your 1 and 2 until the trade with Detroit, because not only did you bring back Rashad Penny and sign Boston Scott, but then to turn around and bring in DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, that's that I knew that Swift was going to be on the move once Detroit drafted the running back Jamar on at the draft. As soon as they did that, I said, okay, DeAndre Swift is going to be on the move. And I was actually very shocked that it was the Eagles, because I I literally felt like, okay, they brought in Rashad Penny, they re-signed Boston Scott, which I know as soon as they re-signed Boston Scott, every New York Giants fan just threw their hands up in the air and said, God, don't play him against us ever again.
Wait a minute. So do I have that backwards?
Yeah, they re-signed Boston Scott and then they signed Rashad Penny to a 1-year deal.
Why did I think Rashad was already with you guys last year? Okay.
um,
Probably. Oh yeah, you were. Never mind. He was from Seattle. My bad.
yeah, yeah. He basically got forced out because of Kenneth Walker the third.
I guess I'm just so used to hearing. I'm just so used to thinking of the fact that DeAndre Swift probably just usurped him as the starter for you guys. That is making me think that he was already there.
The only thing that it worries me about our running back room at this point is Rashad Penny has an injury history. DeAndre Swift has, been nicked up a lot. So he comes here with a little bit of a, kind of like a yellow flag, I like to say, but not a red flag, a yellow flag. Um, I was like I said, I was really shocked with that trade, but I'll take it. I'll take it any day. Like I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how he's going to fit into the offense just yet because we haven't seen it. We don't know how he's going to like adapt to the playbook, but he's a good running back. He's a real good running back. Rashad Penny is a good running back. He's got that low to ground, style, and it'll be interesting to see because this running back room has been revamped. And like I said, losing Miles Sanders after he had a career season, it's one of those things that you knew was going to happen. You knew they probably weren't going to bring him back. Because up until I believe it was up until they traded for DeAndre Swift, I think the Eagles running back rooms combined for this season was under $5 million.
Looking at the salaries you got for Rashad Penny, Boston Scott together, you're barely scraping 3.5. So yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah, so I thought I was like, okay, Rashad Penny, I'll take that. I was like, that's good. But then with DeAndre Swift, I went, oh my goodness. I was like, this is got a chance, like revamped. That running back room is definitely revamped, and it's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to your running game because we are in the process of a initial draft for a dynasty league, and one of my 4 running backs right now, I did pick up DeAndre.
Well, I'm in a dynasty league, and the running back that I have that we didn't even mention is Kenneth Gainwell. I have
Ooh.
him, and I have him in my dynasty league, and I drafted him when he came out, and I've just been waiting for him, which I really thought before they got Rashad Penny, I thought Kenny Gainwell was going to be the starter. I really did. I was like, wow, maybe they're going to go with Gainwell. Then they bring in Rashad Penny. I was like, okay, I don't see Penny beating out Gainwell. Like it's going to be a 1-2 combination, mix in some Boston Scott. But then with the acquisition of Swift, I said, oh man. I said, well, I don't know if this is going to help my fantasy team or not, but we'll see how it goes.
I will say I had Kenny Gainwell in one of my redrafts 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, there's a just a depth option to cover bye weeks, and paying attention, he's a hell of a running back.
Yes, he is. Yes, he
It,
is.
it feels like he's almost being wasted.
Well, I mean, we'll see how that goes. I know they definitely have a role for him. Who knows what it is? I mean, I really thought it was going to be a bigger role with Miles Sanders gone, but like I said, now they brought in DeAndre Swift. That changes things a little bit. But then again, it wouldn't be the first time that the Eagles had a three-headed monster. So I mean, I remember the days of Carell Buckholder, Deuce Staley, and who was the other one? I forget who it was. Carell Buckholder, Deuce Staley. Oh, they had 3 of them. Can't remember now. Damn it, it's escaping me. But yeah, so uh, Gainwell is what I believe he's the youngest out of all of them that they have on the roster right now in the running back room. So We'll see. I'm excited though. It's totally revamped room. I never would have thought that you'd have Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift in the same running back room.
All right, next stop on the what did I just do? I'm an idiot. I just there we go. Eagles draft picks. Let's hype up your rookies
Yes.
because you guys had an interesting draft. Out of seven, what is it? Seven picks you had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 7 picks, 3 of them came from the same damn college.
Yep. Yes, they did. All from Georgia.
And let's just start with the first round, 9th overall pick. You got from the Carolina Panthers, or you got from the Chicago Bears, who had gotten it from Carolina. You drafted defensive tackle Jalen Carter.
Best player in the draft. I couldn't believe it. Like when it became apparent that they were going to get him, I kid you not, I was like a kid on Christmas morning. I really was. I mean, even though all the legal stuff that he has going on, and all the things that he couldn't finish his pro day because he was like out of shape or whatever, I went, I am so happy with this damn pick. I was so happy with it, and I can't express how happy I am that they got Jalen Carter, and I can't wait. Like this is going to be a huge defensive line, a big defensive line.
Coming off of, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were the 4th ranked defense last year.
I believe so. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that you were in. I know they were top 5.
All right, moving on to your second pick in the first round, who also happens to be your second pick out of Georgia with the 30th overall pick, linebacker Nolan Smith.
That was one of those was like mind blown. What the hell just happened? How did we get Nolan Smith? And it wound up coming out later that the Eagles actually intended on taking Nolan Smith at number 9 because they weren't sure Jalen Carter was going to be there. So for them to get both guys that they had slated at the number 9 pick, one at 9 and then one at 30, absolute insanity. I mean, and for an edge, another edge, you're talking, here's another defensive lineman. I love it. I mean, you can't go wrong when you go to that well of Georgia players.
All right, well, with the second round, number 65 overall, we're just talking about how much you got to love your defensive line. Well, what about showing some love for your offensive line with the pick that you got from Houston Texans, offensive lineman Tyler Steen out of Alabama?
It's funny. Yeah, he's an offensive tackle. He's a big kid. He's 6'5", 315 pounds. And I've always said, you can't go wrong with beefing up the lines. When beefing up the trenches, that's how you win. That's how you win a draft. When you get these big offensive and defensive linemen. And I was really shocked when I saw that CBS Sportsline gave a D+ grade for the Eagles for selecting Steen at 65th overall. I was really shocked at that. I mean, I believe it was quoted as Chris Tarapasso. He said, here it is right here, that Tyler Steen, a widely liked prospect I never understood, certainly versatile and athletic, but defenders slipped off him with relative ease, and he's not powerful or well-balanced. Philadelphia type redshirt trench pick. And I was like, okay. I was like, obviously he doesn't like this kid as much as some people do, but I just see a big boy that's on the offensive line. So, and he's a tackle. I mean, give him time to learn the system. And I think everything that Mr. Tarapasso said in his analysis of Tyler Steen, he turns it around and is a different type of player.
All right. Moving on, third round, you had just had the 65th overall pick, and It's very rare that you see the NFL draft look like a snake draft with the team at the cap of a round getting the next round on the first pick on the next round, but you pulled it off because you moved from taking Tyler Steen with the 65th overall pick to in the second round to with the 66th overall pick at the top of the third, drafting safety Sidney Brown out of Illinois, a pick that you guys got from the Cardinals.
Yes, and this is a huge pick because of that reason. With the Eagles making that trade with the Cardinals due to the tampering case for the coach. So for them to get this pick at 66, get Sidney Brown, dude, he's the perfect replacement for Gardner Johnson. Perfect replacement for him. I think that he is. He does have some tackling deficiencies, but I mean, for the most part, he finds the football incredibly underneath and at an intermediate level, and he's got a compact frame, and he's got a ton of experience. He's explosive. He's an explosive safety. So I was more than happy with that. And by the way, Tyler Steen was actually third round pick. He was third round. Him and Sidney Brown were both third round, 65th and 66th.
Okay, well the Eagles. I'm going off of the Philadelphia Eagles website for the draft recap, and it's got him listed as fourth round or sorry, third round. That's it from the end of the third round. Yeah.
So
yeah, he was the first pick of the third round.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, I guess Sportsline didn't update yet because I'm looking at it right now. I guess they never updated that. Whatever. We can go on to the next cat.
Sorry, I might have said the rounds backwards before. I might have said last round of the pick of the third round, first pick of the fourth. I meant to say last pick of the second, first pick of the third.
There you go.
But moving on, you got a little bit of a wait after that. On day 2, going into the fourth round, you didn't get another pick until the third day, round number 4. Pick number 105 overall that you got from the Houston Texans. You drafted corner Keely Ringo, and he is the third player you guys took out of Georgia this year.
Yeah, that is quite possibly like one of my the Sidney Brown pick and the Keely Ringo picks are low-key favorite picks of mine of this draft. I mean, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith were no-brainers, but Keely Ringo, 6'2", 205, out of Georgia. He's fast. He's got great ball skill. I mean, he doesn't have that great of like a mirroring coverage, but he's quick to counter, which is awesome. And he's a tall, and like they like to say, big and long. He's a big dude. He's just got the reach. He's got the physical body for it. He's really a good pick. And I'm so excited for that kid because he literally is now, yeah, he's a cornerback, but he's down the road. He could be a replacement for Darius Slay. I mean, because he is getting older. He could be also part replacement for Bradbury, depending on who goes first. But yeah, I mean, he is a very, very good cornerback. He's a championship winning cornerback. So I'm happy with it.
All right, now the next pick we're probably going to power through and skim through because as we had discussed before going live, in the 6th, you didn't get a pick in the 5th, and moving into the 6th, you took at 188 quarterback Tanner McKee from Stanford. We pretty much both said he's either going to be practice squad relegated, or if he even makes it that far, he could be a cut day casualty, right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, quite possibly. I mean, I will say this about the kid. He did have bad offensive line while he was in college. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't think we really got to see what the kid could really do because he just played behind a bad offensive line. But it is kind of a strange fit for the Eagles. It really is. One that I wasn't too I was really shocked about. I wasn't too not pleased with it, but he's also got like a weird release. He's got like this funky release when he throws, and I'm not sure if that's like going to affect him in any way or whatnot. And he's also like what they like to call stoic in the pocket. He's like one of those stand up corner quarterbacks, And I love quarterbacks that just stay in the pocket and look and like read a defense. I love that. I mean, if it was another team that was looking for a quarterback, I would be excited for him. I mean, here, like I said, strange fit, being behind, Mariota and Jalen Hurts.
Well, as a Jets fan, I could say no matter if he's a stand in the pocket guy, that's what I like to watch because for me, I always loved the fact that football was live action chess, and
Yeah.
that's kind of been diminished with the emergence of the dual threat quarterbacks. But
Yes.
you know what? I'll give you Zach Wilson and a bag of circus peanuts for him.
Well, I'll take the peanuts, but that's bad. I'll take peanuts all day.
All right, and then I love how you dissed Zach Wilson even worse than I just did. And then your 7th round pick, number 249 overall, defensive tackle Moro Ojomo from Texas.
Yeah, I mean, it's another defensive lineman. Hey, kid. My other dog just went sneaking on by into the other bedroom. She's gonna jump up on the bed and take that over. Yeah, Ojimo is. Oh man,
I
he
butchered his last
is.
name. Got it.
Yeah, he's literally a very good defensive lineman. He's an up the field rusher on the interior. He's probably the best and purest one in this class. Um, so he's got really good slippery and effective pass rush moves, and he's got some decent power. And I actually like I said, it was a weird fit for Tanner McKee. I love Ojomo's fit for the Eagles.
Uh,
Absolutely love it.
as do I it's honestly for me, looking at your draft lineup, it's weird that I can see your 7th round pick getting more of a shot of making a difference on the field this year than I can either of your 6th or even the 4th round picks.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely going to get his shot because, like I said, the lineman, he's going to get his times in there to, get the feel for the game, get some live action stuff going in there, more of that um, depth and interchangeability with the rotation of people coming in, and it's and also people seem to forget too that we still have another guy that they drafted last year, big boy out of Georgia, who's on the defensive line, who's a big run stopper at the moment. So they have a lot of talent on that line. I mean, a lot of talent. And they all won national championships at Georgia. So I'll take it.
Now, I know you're going to hate me for this next part because I think we've pretty much covered what we needed to with the rookies this year. And now I know last year you kind of gave me flack because you don't like predicting wins and losses, but you should have known to expect that after last year, right?
Absolutely.
As he says begrudgingly. Now, now I got to say, you guys have a roller coaster schedule.
It's
You've got
tough.
you've got spans of like 2-3 games where it should be easy, and then 2-3 games where oh damn, back to easy, back to oh damn,
Yeah.
and like it's going to be interesting. Starting, I think week 1 at New England, easy win. Week 2 versus the Vikings, another easy win. Week 3 at Tampa Bay. If this would have been last year or 2 years ago with Tom Brady, I might have said this could be your first loss, but I'm gonna say that's a win as well. 4 versus Washington. I see you starting the season 4-0 or 5-0 because versus Washington, then at the Rams, who've been falling apart. I see your first real challenge and the part of the roller coaster where it starts turning into oh damn, being the week 6 and 7 at the Jets and then versus Miami.
Yeah, well, I mean, with well, let's just put it this way. I'm gonna say to you this. It's like I do see the Eagles starting 5-0. Just at a glance, looking at it, starting 5-0. Out of the first 5 games, to me, the wild card that they could actually lose would probably be week 1, because that's also perfectly played by the NFL to have that as Tom Brady Day, and he's going to be honored during the game. So Tom Brady's going to be in the house at New England week 1, being honored by the New England Patriots. So they're going to have a lot to play for. They're not going to want to let the goat down. So I think the Patriots come out and play really tough in that first game.
Not to mention, if there was ever a game that Mac Jones was going to come out with a chip on his shoulder and wanting to
Exactly.
say, this is my team,
Exactly.
it would be that game.
It absolutely can't. I cannot disagree with you, because I agree 100% that he's going to sit there and say, "Okay, you had your time. This is my time. You were great. Now move
Sit
aside."
down and enjoy the show.
Yep. Sit down. Get into your little wheelchair. Sip your little sippy cup. Have your Ensure and sit down and watch me play. But yeah, I do see the Eagles going 5-0. Well, that's just the first 5 games. Yeah, I do see 5-0. I'm intrigued by week 6 because I do like the Jets defense. I'm very intrigued by week 6.
Not
Of
to
course
mention
they
how much
get.
we've revamped our offense.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like I mean, you can't knock the fact that, okay, yes, now they have Aaron Rodgers after that roller coaster finally got done, and they have him. He's in the building. He's going to be playing. It's a combination of having one of the greatest ever behind center, and that defense along with that offense. Like I think Wilson. I think not Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson.
I was going to say, I hope you're not thinking of Zach,
Yeah,
because I'm
no,
trying to forget about him.
yeah. Trust me, Zach's trying to forget about himself too. Um, and was it you got Brees Hall coming back?
We
So I
brought
mean,
in Alan
it's
Lazard,
yeah.
Nicole
I mean,
Hardman.
yeah, you got some good wide receivers that came into the building strictly because of who is now your quarterback. So that's a good game. I I see the Eagles sneaking that one. It'll be a tough game, but I see them sneaking that, going 6-0. Um, depending on the kind of Tua they get in week 7, that could be tough because I like Miami. I like Miami this year.
I kind of, by week 7, kind of have you guys pegged as playing against Mike White, not Tua.
Well, like I said, depending on what kind of Tua you get, it's either we get Tua who's healthy and is on the field and he's effective, because when he's on the field and healthy, he can be effective. Um, I hope to God he's healthy and he's playing, because I want to see Hurts versus Tua so bad. I want to see that matchup. I mean, you're talking Jalen Hurts got benched for Tua and wound up transferring because of Tua. So and Hurts has been to the Super Bowl where Tua's, been picking his nose up through his nostrils. So I literally want to see what kind of Tua they get. But I see them winning that game. I see the Eagles actually starting the season 7-0.
It's hard to argue on that one. I personally think week 6 is going to be your biggest challenge, because looking at his history last year with the concussions and all that, like I said, by week 7, I see Mike White being the official starter for Miami.
And you know what? It very well may be. So, and if that's the issue, they still beat them. So, I mean, even though Mike White's not bad at all, you know what I mean? He's got his purpose and he's good. He's kind of like, at this point, I kind of get the feeling like he's going to get that aura of the Fitz magic. You know what I mean? He's going to start being that guy that like hops around and is good for a stretch of a few games, and then he's bad, and then he's good again for a stretch of a few more. The game where I see the Eagles losing their first one, honestly, is Week 8 versus Washington in Washington. I don't see them beating Washington twice. Washington is a sneaky team. And I was there last year when Washington beat them on like what, Monday Night Football. So
Not to mention, Washington now has an interesting quarterback situation.
yes. I
Do
mean,
they continue with Sam Howell?
I like Sam
Or
Howell.
now that they've brought him in, do they give the reins over to Jacoby?
I think it's gonna be one of those things where what's his face? The coach, the hell's his name? Ron Rivera. He's gonna let these guys fight it out. He's gonna let them battle it out to see who's the best guy. And I do. I like Howell. I think he's gonna wind up winning out for the starting position. Well, the starting QB1. But yeah, I literally, yeah, I see that being a loss. I do. Like when Chris and I did our show where we went over it, he's like, "You're out of your mind," and I'm like, "I'm telling you, man." I was like, "There's something about Washington." I said they almost made the playoffs. I said, and I said they're probably going to be playing a lot better because they're not going to have that crap ass owner hovering over them anymore. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a totally different team. I think the Eagles split that season series with them, and they play them early. They play them before the Eagles have their bye week. They play them twice, and then they're done.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it also Washington that ended the undefeated streak last year?
Yeah. And I was there. I was at that game with my two buddies. I couldn't wait to go. It was awesome. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I was like, what the hell am I watching?
All right. So up to week 8, you've got them at 7-1. I've got them at 6-2.
Okay.
I agree with you that Washington will probably split the series and it'll be a home and home.
Right.
Maybe it's the green that runs through my veins. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. Maybe it's just the fact that I have that much faith in what we've done this year in the offseason. But I think you lose to New York.
Well, hey, if we do, we do. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I feel I feel that they can beat them. I feel they can take them down.
All right, moving on to week 9, the Cowboys. This is your home game against Dallas.
Yeah. I have the Eagles bouncing back and winning this one before the bye. So I have the Eagles beating Dallas at home before they head into the bye week of 10.
And now coming off of the bye week is 3 weeks in a row of oh damn.
Well, actually, it's actually 4 weeks if you count week 14 in Dallas.
Oh yeah. I had forgotten that.
Yeah, so I actually now what do you have against week 11 versus Kansas City?
I have you guys going over week 11 to get kind of like payback for the Super Bowl.
There you go. I have to agree. I think that this is going to definitely be a revenge game. The Eagles are going to, I think they're going to come out. You know, Jalen Hurts is going to avenge that costly that costly fumble in the Super Bowl. And I think he proves to everybody, and not that he didn't prove it in the Super Bowl, but I think he proves to everyone that he belongs in the same conversations as Patrick Mahomes.
And then I can agree with that. And then I hate to say this, but I actually got you beating Kansas and then going on a 3-game skid.
Well, I have the Eagles losing to Buffalo.
I have them. Well.
Yeah, I have them losing to Buffalo. I think Josh Allen is like Mahomes. He's on like that other level. So I mean, you're talking. You get them playing the Patrick Mahomes. Then you're playing. Then you're. I mean, because I think they put so much into the Week 11 game versus Kansas City that they just have nothing left for Week 12. And yeah, so I think that they're going to be so hyped up for Week 11 that Week 12 is going to. I think that Josh Allen comes in here and just punches them in the face.
I can agree with that. I have Buffalo beating you guys. Honestly, as great as Mahomes is, I personally think Josh Allen might be a better quarterback.
He's another one, man. He's got that skill set. He's a big guy. He's mobile. He's really come a long way from where he was like in his rookie season. Like his rookie season, I thought, oh man, Buffalo made a mistake in drafting this kid. And then he's another one. He's been moving up each year, and he's at that level now. And I mean, you're talking like right now, three of the best quarterbacks are in the league are going to be playing each other 2 straight weeks with Mahomes and Hurts, and then Hurts versus Josh Allen. I mean, so we're going to see some damn good play in those 2 weeks.
For sure. The thing that the big difference between the two is the situations they got thrust into.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes got thrown right into an Andy Reid system where, honestly, I think Josh Rosen could have succeeded if he would have went to Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, Andy Reid he's a quarterback guru. He really is. Like he knows how to pick the guys. Now, granted, he came up short here with Donovan McNabb, but Donovan McNabb was the right guy. I mean, you look at who went in that draft. You know what I mean? It's like you look at who went in that draft, and McNabb got selected by the Eagles, and they made the absolute right choice by drafting Donovan McNabb, and he just came up short. That's all. I mean, but his numbers, he's the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time. So it was the right call. So I mean, Reid does know how to pick them.
Let's give it a few more years here and see what Jalen Hurts does. Because if anyone is going to surpass Donovan
it's
as
him.
being an Eagle great, it would be Jalen.
Absolutely.
Now, moving on past week 12, week 13, it's one that you're probably going to definitely disagree with me on, but week 13, we just had the Super Bowl rematch. Now 2 weeks later, we're getting the NFC Championship rematch. And I know you said you don't believe the hype, but I'm looking at more than just the hype. Looking at how laser sharp he was for 9 weeks, and the fact that the game was a nail biter up until his arm injury. Week 13, if you're playing against a fully primed and healthy Brock Purdy, I think it's going to be a shootout. And I think San Fran has the better, especially with the Christian McCaffrey and the tools there. I honestly think San Fran has a better set of weapons. Equally good defenses. I think San Fran takes the rematch.
I mean, these two teams couldn't be more equal in a lot of stuff. Like they couldn't be more comparable in a lot of areas. I mean, like you said it best, the Christian McCaffrey factor. I mean, he's going to be the best player on that field for San Francisco. He's going to be the best out of all the running backs compared on each team. So I mean, he's going to be the all-around weapon in that game. San Francisco got Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. They have the talent, like you said. Like they have the overall talent. Their defense hasn't really changed much this offseason. So I mean, they're still going to have a very tough defense. I think this is a game where Jalen Hurts and the Eagles really show up, though, because I think they're going to want to avenge the loss at home the week prior to Buffalo, and I think they're going to win this game. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard game, and it's definitely going to be one of those. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a Philly street fight.
I pretty much, in other words, we pretty much both said the exact same thing there.
Yeah,
Other than end result.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so moving on to week 14, it's your second matchup, this time at Dallas.
yeah. This time at Dallas, I have Dallas winning this one. I don't think either team comes into the other one's stadium and wins. So I have Dallas winning this one at home.
All right, we agree with that one. Because a divisional rival, knowing that you've already beaten them once, they did say the hardest thing to do in football is to beat the same team twice in the same year.
Yep.
Which is where I also see Dallas being a home and home series.
Yeah, me too.
So
Absolutely.
I have Dallas being the third loss in a row for you guys in my summation here, but luckily week 15 I have you guys bouncing back against Seattle.
Yeah, I have the Eagles winning against Seattle. For the simple fact that I'm not sure if what we saw out of Geno Smith last year was Geno Smith. I mean, the guy. I mean, he was riding the bench for a long time. He really did not show up as a player up until last season. Last season was his best season to date. So it's was he riding the lightning? Was he having his Brock Purdy season? You know what I mean? It's where you know what I mean. He literally like I disagreed with him winning comeback player of the year because he never went anywhere. He was there. He was most improved player in my opinion, not comeback player of the year. The guy didn't miss a season because he was injured. No, he just didn't play because he wasn't good. And he comes out last year and blows it up. I mean, played amazing. Give the guy credit. But comeback player of the year, no, most improved, most improved. So depending on what kind of Geno Smith Seattle gives us in Week 15, then that'll be the difference in that game.
Now, I will say, Geno Smith, if this is what he's been capable of his whole career, I want to know where the hell this was when he was still a Jet.
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I want to know where this was when. Wait a minute, where did he go? Wasn't he an Eagle for a while after the Jets for a point
I don't
as a
believe so.
backup?
No.
No, never
No.
mind.
Yeah,
Either
no.
either way, I want to know where this was when he was a Jet. And honestly, you got a large part of it is probably the fact that he's got a legitimate Hall of Fame coach in Pete Carroll
Yeah.
now to work under. And the other thing I will say about the Geno Smith situation is if Geno Smith can step up with Seattle's defense and outshine this year past what we saw from Russell Wilson the past 2 or 3 before that, makes you wonder if it was. It goes to show who the problem really was between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson there, since the two of them could not get along.
Yeah, and then to also when we talk about Russell Wilson, just look at how terrible he was last year. I mean, he was terrible. So was it him? Was it Carroll? And then you look at what Geno Smith did under that same head coach, Pete Carroll. Kind of makes me think it was Russell Wilson.
Well, I will say if there's any coach in the league that's going to be able to turn Russell Wilson around and get him back on the right path or salvage the twilight of his career here, you got to say he's in good hands with Sean Payton.
Yeah, absolutely. Best thing that could have happened for Russell Wilson in Denver. Absolutely. Sean Payton is a very good coach. And I mean, hey, like I said, we'll see what happens with him, but I believe he's going to have a better year. I do. I think Russell's going to have a better year. But no, I honestly think that we all know it was Russell Wilson that became the issue in Seattle.
Yes. And now we are down to the last 3 weeks. The Giants bookending Arizona. You got Giants at home, Cardinals at home, and then week 18 is a road game at New York.
Yeah, so I have the last 3 games, win, loss.
So you've actually got them going home and home with every divisional rival this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't see anybody coming in here from the division and beating us with this fan base behind the team. I just don't.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yeah, I think the Giants are the one that you sweep this year.
You think
I
they
think
sweep the Giants?
I think you close the series out with 4 straight wins.
Hey, I'll take that. But but and I thank you for that. But yeah, I do. I think the Giants will get their little revenge game when they're at home in the final week of the season. So I do. I mean, they I like what Dable has done with the Giants. Like they they respond to him and they respond well. Like he got Daniel Jones to actually be a quarterback. So I mean, they're good. To me, the Giants are legit. Um, like I said, the ones that aren't legit to me is Washington. I still think they're going to. I mean, even though they're going to be improved, Washington's still Washington, and they're going to Washington. But yeah, the Giants game, yeah, that's a home and home. But yeah,
Uh,
the last, yeah.
Now like I said, I see you guys closing out the series 4 straight wins.
Okay, yeah,
So
well, that's
for me, the only losses I'm handing you guys is the Jets, the road game for Washington, Buffalo, San Fran, and Dallas. I actually got you guys going 12-5.
nice. I mean, that's still good. Still good. I'll take that, considering everybody this is like a very the back end of this schedule is very tough.
Well, I wouldn't say the back half. I would say the third quarter.
Oh, third quarter. There you go. I mean, when you gotta hit a stretch of Kansas City, Buffalo, San Fran, and Dallas, that's that's a gruesome foursome right there.
Also, knowing that it's all after the bye, where momentum is,
It's
where
key.
if you look at most teams that have gone in as the first round bye for the playoffs, that bye week can kill your momentum.
It could. It honestly could. I mean, it's at the point of the season where I mean, there's going to be guys they're banged up. There's going to be some lingering injuries. It'll give them a chance to heal up, having that bye week. Um, but I mean, I'm always a fan of the later bye weeks, and it just yeah, I'm a fan of the later bye weeks. So this one fits right where it should be. I like it, but
Right
yeah,
at the midway mark.
yep, yep,
All right. Now, we've already pretty much covered part of season expectations, because the last subject I had was season expectations and postseason hopes. Um, I think we both pretty much came up to 12-5.
hmm
Um, that said, that should put you at either top seed or first round bye or second seed in the playoffs with that record. Do you
right.
think you guys are going? What do you think the expectation would be after coming up just short in the Super Bowl last year? Looking at the
Well,
roster you guys still have.
well, the expectations have to be, in my opinion. I mean, you got to the Super Bowl and you lost, so the expectation is go back and win. That's that's the expectation. I mean, if anything, Jalen Hurts has basically shown, that he doesn't like failure, and that's that's the ultimate failure, losing in the Super Bowl, fumbling the football in a critical situation that quite possibly lost you the game. Yeah, I think he's going to be on a mission this year.
I I could definitely see that being the case. Though, how, the other thing that has me worried is how much are you guys going to suffer from Super Bowl hangover, if any?
Uh, yeah, that's also a big question mark because that does happen. That's a legitimate concern that all teams go through. I mean, unless you're the Patriots, but
Or
I
it
mean,
seems
they
like
just
of late the freaking Chiefs.
yes. So I mean, it's that'll play a factor. I mean, we just have to wait and see how the whole season plays out. But I mean, yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that. But at the same time, we have guys in that locker room to keep these younger guys in check, like Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, who they also brought back on a 1-year deal for $6 million. Another, that's a future Eagles Hall of Famer. So they have a lot of guys in that locker room that are going to keep the younger guys in check. Lane Johnson is going to keep people in check. They got to, they have a lot of players who are leaders. So they've experienced the highest of highs and they've experienced the lowest of low. I really think that the on-field guys, the on-field generals, I think they're going to keep these younger guys in check. I think they're going to show them, like, hey, this is what you're here for. This is why they picked you. You're the next group coming in. But until we're gone, we're the guys that are going to keep this train rolling.
All right, I will say, yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing how this plays out for you guys. You raised a lot of good points there with how many veteran leaders you guys have, and you know what? If it can't be who's to say? You know what? You're NFC, Jets are AFC. Who's to say we might not see a green out in the Super Bowl?
Right. I mean, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Like the Jets have a much improved team this year, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, I already said I love their defense. I think on the defensive side, I think they were a very good team. So they have the right fits in the right places to be very competitive. And they have one of the most competitive quarterbacks to ever play the game now. So it's very possible.
Well, I think the biggest note that we can send this home on is that it's going to be a great year for Philly. And
hopefully it is.
All I can say is week 6 and hopefully week 23, you and I definitely got to be in touch to smack talk.
Absolutely.
Do you want to give I think that's a strong note to end the show on tonight, especially since we're pushing the hour and 20-minute mark.
Yes.
That said, do you want to give a shout out where you can be followed?
Yeah, man, everybody can follow us on Twitter at CEV Sports. Then you can also find us if you search on YouTube, look for Six Pack Coverage channel for sixpackcoverage.com. Just search when you go into their YouTube page, just search the Philly podcast. All of our stuff is up there. Awesome channel to watch. They got a lot of good stuff. They have all kinds of shows, food, sports, you name it. Travel. They have all kind of great stuff. And check out Lanterrain Watches. They're one of our sponsors, and the monkeysuncle.net, which is an awesome shop in D-Town, and they deal with retro fan fashion and pop culture stuff. So yeah, man, but that's where you can find us. And as always, we just keep on moving along, man, doing that Eagle thing.
All right. Those know me, you follow at Mooncutters on Twitter, at TJE Joker, as you've seen displayed on screen on Twitter. And right now, the best way to help my product and the network grow, Running Force Productions, the logo up above Eric's head on YouTube, Running Force, one word, capital R, capital F. Like, subscribe. Make sure you're following Mooncutter Sportscast, and make sure you check out our other shows, including the new one that we just launched, Cranking It Out with Slice and Moon, which for those of you that haven't checked out the first episode, it's a podcast about anything and everything. Two best friends who bicker like a married couple, diving into a different topic each and every week, and you never know what's going to be brought up. But the only thing we can guarantee is that one of us is going to go off on a rant tirade at least once a week. So tune in for that. Eric, you've been awesome as always, and I can't wait till the next time we get together here, because it's always fun, my brother.
Yes, always a blast to be on here with you, man.
For sure. Anyways, for Mooncutter Sportscast and for Running Force Productions, this is Geoffrey and Eric signing off.